Hello, I'm back again. I'm now in the post-COVID-19 haircut era. Anyway, it'll grow again. A couple of things about this video. I'd like to share with you some of the reasons I want to do a 5-speed conversion in the first place. I've been going to the Dunboyne event for a couple of years, run by the Dunboyne Motor Club outside Dublin, and I've had a great bit of fun there. And there's a straight, and I've just about got this old thing up to about 95, an indicated 95 mile an hour, and it's still going, but I run out of road. So I thought if I put a 5-speed gearbox in it, I might get a little bit more acceleration, which will give me a bit more road distance, and I might actually see 3 figures on the speedo. I've recently had the chronometrics rebuilt, so they're probably fairly accurate. As far as the cynics among you saying, why don't I just lose a bit of weight? Well, I could do, and I'm working on it, but being months and months of being hungry and irritable, when I contrast that to having fun in the workshop, playing with motorbikes and building gearboxes, well, the latter is an obvious winner. So let's get on with it. A couple of minutes of the last time I was at Dunboyne, and then we'll crack on with some shots of putting the gearbox to rights and preparing for when the 5-speed conversion arrives. Okay. Hello there. Well, did you enjoy that? I must say I found it exciting. There's nothing like watching the rev counter slowly build up when you're in top gear as you're heading for maximum revs. Anyway, I'm back in the gearbox again. I've got some stuff to show you in close, so let me just do that and set up for that. Right, as you can see, the first part I've put in is the clutch actuator. I've measured off, I put some tape on it and I put some pen marks on it. As you can see, this thing moves approximately 1 and 5/8 maximum lift. Now the problem is you never get that at the handlebar lever. So in fact all I've got on my one at the moment currently is 3/4 of an inch. So I've marked this out, and if I just turn this over, you can see how little this pin actually moves out. That is 10 thou proud at the moment. Under maximum lift, that's 315. So call it 0.3 of an inch lift in total if you had all of that distance to move. But in actual fact, all you have at the handlebar is 3/4 of an inch. And that means that you have to set this thing up. And let me just set these at the dimensions I put at 1/2 an inch. The lift here is 0.115. And then if I lift that again to 3/4 of an inch, the lift is 0.153. So that's all this lift plate gets moved. So if you work from the fulcrum here through the center line here to this, any lift on this is approximately going to be half on what drives that ball joint. So there isn't an awful lot of movement, and you have to make the best of that movement as you possibly can by having your clutch adjusted. Right, let's just see how this goes. This has just come out of the deep freeze, and it's been in there for a couple of hours. Got a little punch in the hammer ready. Oh, goes in. Oh. I'm going to wait till this all cools down before I put the next little oil shield in, and then this part. Right, the time has come to install this locking ring and also this final oil shield. This has got to be centralized. Everything has cooled down nicely now. That needs to be centralized, and then this needs to be screwed in. I've applied ever so slightly a little bit of Loctite thread lock on this, and I'm going to also lock it in the traditional way by brutalizing the casting. It's pretty obvious also from looking at this casting that it has not been brutalized before, which just goes to prove what a brand new casting it is. So I'm going to just tighten this down till I feel the thing biting onto the bearing, and then I'm going to check to make sure that the shield is on center still. Let me just check that. That looks pretty good to me. I'm happy with that. So I shall proceed with locking this down. Hang on, there it goes. Just check that again. It's still on. Yes, looking good. Right, that's not going anywhere. That's tight enough. Now the traditional way of tightening these and making sure they don't come out again is to brutalize the aluminium here and smear it into this gap. So I'm going to, and the way you do this is not with a center punch, which just causes fissures. What you need to do is start hitting the aluminium about 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch away, and gently depress this surface here so that it sinks down and bulges out into this this little cut. And you do that in 2 places. And of course, if you had a very mature gearbox that had been blowing up regularly and this ring kept coming to a halt in the same place so that this aluminium in this location was badly damaged, the solution to that one, to find some fresh aluminium to muller and brutalize, is to take this ring out and ease it a little bit on some wet and dry on a flat surface. That means it will screw in a little bit further, and these cuts will move around to a fresh piece of aluminium which can be mullered and abused. It's a fairly hideous thing to do, but that's what is required. So let me just get set up for that. All right, let me just demonstrate what I've been doing for a couple of minutes here, ever so gently. And I can see now that this aluminium is smearing and bulging out ever so gently, and it's definitely not going to come out. Actually, that's worked quite well, so let me just turn this around and do another one. Anyway, I'm going to turn the camera off now. You can see how this goes. Slowly but surely, lots and lots of tiny little taps to just gently form the aluminium. Right, there's just one final thing which I need to confirm. As you can see, there's a slot on the back of this securing ring which goes in there, and it's equally disposed between these slots here, which I've used to drive the thing in, and that in effect is a drain hole. And what I'm hoping to do now is put some oil in this, although this is a bit thick, but my hope is that this oil will drain away, and it should. Well, the test is to see if it's showing up inside in the gearbox. So let me just spin this around. See, it seems to be disappearing all right. Let me just have a look in here. Oh, yes, it's coming through. There's a little drain hole there. So that's another element of the function of these shields, which seems to be working nicely. Right, so I think that's enough of that. As you can see, the bearing here has started to frost up, so hopefully that will just drop straight in now. Just needs a little bit of assistance there. Right, that's now home and installed. Just a quick look at some work that's ongoing. I've secured that seal to the Kickstarter. I've got the gearbox, most of the selector mechanism in place, and I've started to take the gear change linkage apart. These are the rivets. They're nominally 1/4 inch in diameter, but I'm going to replace these with my own pins made on the lathe, and I'm going for some M6 rose joints. So I think that's about it at the moment. Hello again. This is the end of video 2. It's surprising how much time this is taking. I'm not really sure how long a video I can make before YouTube won't accept it, but I'm going to aim for 15 minutes maximum. And anyway, that's enough of me droning away. So look, I hope you have enjoyed this and found it informative, and I hope to see you in another video where I will address the outer casing of the gearbox and address some of the Kickstarter issues, which also has to include end float control on the lay shaft, and I can't really do much about that until I get the lay shaft, which will be part of the 5-speed conversion. So until that time, have fun. Thank you.